Again, hello everyone. Uh, Welcome to our last Security September webinar. We are planning to have 60-minute sessions like before, and I will answer your questions at questions part. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Zeynep. I'm working as a senior product manager for Comodo security products over 1.5 years. You can directly contact with me for your any questions, problems from my personal Skype and email addresses. This is the last week, and we will be talking about additional features for control network traffic, block certain URLs, block certain devices, and prevent data loss. We will start with firewall settings, which we discussed the other settings from our previous webinar series. I will continue with our profile section. Under configuration templates, I will start to add a new section, which this for one it was from our previous webinar series. We added antivirus, containment, HIPS, and virus scope settings. And now we will continue with firewall settings. The firewall settings area allows you to configure the behavior of CCS firewall on endpoints to which the profile is applied. You can also configure network zones, port sets, and traffic filtering rules. Configure firewall settings and traffic rules like have 6 extra tabs inside the firewall option. Firewall settings configure the general firewall behavior. Application rules define rules that determine the network access privileges of individual applications or specific types of applications at the endpoint. Global rules define that apply to all traffic following in and out of the endpoint. The rule sets create and manage predefined collections of firewall rules that can be applied out of the box to internet-capable applications, such as browser, email clients, and FTP clients. The network zones create named grouping of one or more IP addresses. Once created, you can specify a zone as the target of a firewall rule. The port sets define groups of regularly used ports that can be used or reused when creating a traffic filtering rules. Let's start with firewall settings. Enable firewall. Enable or disable firewall protection at the endpoint. If enabled, you can select custom rule sets, set safe mode and training mode options from here. Custom rule sets is the firewall applies only the custom security configurations and network policies specified by the administrator. So new users may want to think of this option, do not learn settings, because the firewall does not attempt to learn the behavior of the application, any of the applications actually, nor does it automatically create network traffic rules for those applications. The user will receive alerts every time there is a connection attempt by an application, even for applications on the Comodo safe list. Unless if, of course, the administrator has specified rules and policies that instruct the firewall to trust applications connection attempts. Except from that, you will receive all the attempt for application. If any application tries to make a connection to the outside, the firewall audits all the loaded components and checks each against the list of components already allowed or blocked. So if a component is found to be blocked, the entire application is denied, internet access on an alert generated inside our endpoint. This settings is advised for experienced firewall users that wish to maximize the visibility and the control over traffic in and out of their computer. The safe mode, while filtering network traffic, the firewall automatically creates rules that allow all traffic for components of applications certified as safe by Comodo. If the checkbox create rules for safe applications is selected, this is here. I will explain this checkbox later also. For non-certified new applications, the user will receive an alert whenever that application attempts to access the network. So the administrator can choose to grant that application internet access by selecting treat this application as a trusted application at the alert on the CCS endpoint side. This deploys the predefined firewall policy trusted application onto the application. So safe mode is recommended settings for most users because combining the highest level of the security with an easy to manage number of connection alerts, because the custom rule set will generate too much alerts for you, but the safe mode is easy to manage. A number of connection alerts will be generated from the endpoints. The training mode, firewall monitors network traffic and creates automatic allow rules for all new applications until the security level is adjusted. The user will not receive any alerts in training mode. If you choose the training mode setting, we advise you that you are 100% sure that all applications installed on the endpoints are assigned to correct network access rights. If required, you can enable training mode by selecting temporarily switch firewall to training mode. After the countdown is over, if you select 1 day and 2 hours, CCS will switch back to previous mode, so your computer will be safer. If you select safe mode, it will go directly to safe mode again. We recommend you to not use training mode always. The temporary option will be better for your endpoints. Show pop-up alerts. Whether or not firewall alerts are to be displayed at the endpoint, whenever the firewall encounters a request for network access for the users to respond. If you choose not to show alerts, you can select the default response for auto action allow requests. If you unselect this option, you can change auto action for block request or allow request directly. Turn traffic animation effects on. The CCS tray icon can display a small animation with the traffic moves to or from your computer. So you can enable or disable the animation displayed on the endpoint. Create rules for safe applications, which I mentioned about a little bit. Comodo firewall trusts the application if the app is from a vendor who has trusted status in the local vendor list in CCS. The app is trusted in the online file database if it is whitelisted. also in the CCS file list and the file rate settings, which we in the second webinar, I explained detailedly about the file rating settings. If you want to check file rating settings webinar, you can go directly to our YouTube videos, and I detailedly explained the safe applications and file lists for firewall applications. By default, by the way, CCS does not automatically create allow rules for a safe application. So this saves a resource usage and simplifies the rules interface by reducing the number of rules created. So enabling this option instructs CCS to learn the behavior of safe applications. So it can be auto-create allow rules for them. These rules are listed in CCS. I will show you CCS. Our use inside advanced settings. Let me open again. Inside settings, advanced settings, we have firewall settings. So you can see the application rules created inside CCS. The advanced user also can edit, modify the rules as they wish. This is the administrator look of an CCS settings page. If you enable this option inside your profiles, so you can create application rules. CCS can automatically create allow rules actually for the safe applications. Set alert frequency level. Enabling this option allows you to configure the amount of alerts that Comodo firewall generates. So you can select your frequency level and it will reduce or increase your alert for the firewall settings, firewall alerts, sorry. For the majority of users, the default setting is low, is the perfect level, actually, ensuring you are kept informed of the connection attempt and suspicious behavior, and you will not get too many alerts from the endpoint. Actually, the low is our most using section some option in here. Very high will you can select the very high, for example. For example, using a browser to connect to your internet homepage may generate as many as 5 separate alerts for an outgoing TCP connection alone. So the inbound, outbound connection attempts will continuously create to you a separate alerts for each request from the both TCP and UDP protocols, and on the specific ports and for specific IP addresses for an application. If you select high, it will be only alerts for outgoing and incoming connection requests for both TCP and UDP protocols. It will go to reducing the alerts like this. If you select very low, for example, the alert frequency settings refer only the connection of the IP addresses. So the firewall shows only one alert for one application. The very low means that. But we prefer you to use low. It is suitable for majority of our users. Set new on-screen alert timeout to determine how long the firewall shows an alert for without any user intervention at the endpoint. By default, time is set 1020 seconds. You may adjust the settings to your own preference by selecting this option and changing the number here. Let's change it, or we can go back to our default settings. Filter IP version 6 traffic. If enabled, the firewall component of CCS at the endpoint will filter IP version 6 network traffic in addition to IP version 4. Background note, the IP version 6 stands for Internet Protocol version 6, is intended to replace Internet Protocol version 4. So the move is primarily driven by the anticipated execution of available IP addresses. So if IP version 6, on the other hand, if you use that, it will implement numerous of enhancements that are not present in IP version 4. So including greater security, improved support for mobile devices for more efficient routing of data packets. Filter loopback traffic. The loopback connection refers to internal communications within your PC. Any data transmitted by your computer through a loopback connection is immediately received by it. This involves no connection outside your computer to the internet or local network. The IP address is, as an example here, you can see, which you might have heard referred to use under its domain name by HTTP localhost. This is the address of your computer, actually. Block fragmented IP traffic. When a connection is opened between two computers, they just agree on a maximum transmission unit. IP, the datagram fragmentation occurs when data passes through a router with an MTU less than the MTU you are using. When a datagram is larger than the MTU of the network over which is must be sent, it is divided into smaller fragments which are each sent separately. So fragmented IP packets can create threats similar like a DOS attack. And moreover, fragmentations can double the amount of the time it takes to send the single packet and slow down your download time. So if you want the firewall component of CCS at the endpoint, block the fragmentation datagrams, enable this option. This option is also default enabled, actually. It saves you time, actually, and it will not slow down your download time. It is better to use this option enabled. Do protocol analysis option. Protocol analysis is the key to detection of fake packets used in denial of service, the DOS attacks, actually. If you want a firewall at the endpoint to check whether every packet conforms to that protocol standards, select this option. If not, the packets are blocked. This is also enabled by default. Enable anti-ARP spoofing. Egregious address resolution protocol, ARP, frames an ARP reply that the broadcast to all machines in a network and is not response to any ARP request. When an ARP reply is broadcast, all hosts are required to update their local ARP caches, whether or not the ARP reply was an response to an ARP request they had issued. However, while relevant to, say, a single computer in a small network, enabling this option, this settings helps to block such requests at the endpoints to which the profile is applied, protecting the ARP cache from potentially malicious updates, malicious updates. Yes, this is also default enabled. Application rules. Whenever an application makes a request for internet or network address, Comodo firewall allows or denies this request based upon the firewall rule set that has been specified for that application. So the rule sets are in turn made up from one or more individual network access rules. Each individual network access rule contains instructions that determine whether the application should be allowed or blocked, which protocols is allowed to use, which ports is allowed to use, and so forth. The application rules interface allows you to create and manage these application rules, regulating the network access and individual applications at the endpoint to which profile is applied. You can add a new application rule from here. You can enter a name. You can browse from here. For example, I want to use Windows Updater applications and I want to use a specific rule set. The rule sets are defined. I will show inside our rule sets section. We have these options as predefined, which I will explain later. The web browser, email client, FTP client. This is predefined for our all profiles. You can select this one, or you can use a custom rule set and add a new rule. Action to allow, block, ask. You can select which protocol you want to use, or you want to log as firewall event if the rule is fired. You can specify the direction in and out, or in just. Also, you can add source addresses or make these addresses as exclude option. And you can add this destination address, source port, and destination port for each specific firewall rule. Although each rule set can be defined from the groups by individual constitute rules. For example, for a rule set that web browser if you may choose that the web browser to applications like Internet Explorer, Firefox, and Opera, each predefined rule set will make you that you will continually broad the application category, and you can use the firewall optimize the security level of a certain type of application. So you can as an administrator, you can of course modify this web browser. For example, you can change the Opera and Internet Explorer applications from your rule sets. You can use this applications rules as a custom. You can edit this one also, or you can go directly to global rules. And unlike the application rules, which are applied to and triggered by traffic relating to a specific application, global rules are applied to all traffic traveling in and out of the computer applied with this profile. Comodo firewall analyzes every packet of data in and out of the computer using combination of application and global rules. Both application and global rules are using with a combination. For outgoing connection attempts, the application's rules are consultant first, and then the global rules are second. We will check the application rule first and then global rules. For an incoming connection attempt, the global rules are consultant first, and then application rules will come as a second. Therefore, outgoing traffic has to pass both application rule than any global rules before it is allowed out of your system. Similarly, incoming traffic has to pass any global rules first, and then application-specific rules that may apply to the packet. Global rules are mainly, but not exclusively, used to filter incoming traffic for protocols other than TCP or UDP. The global rules panel allows you create a new global rule like application rules, or edit inside this rule edit button. You can add or edit our specified global rules in this section. Rule set, as I showed you before, this is our predefined rule sets for our security level 1 profiles. As the name suggests, a firewall rule set is set of one or more individual firewall rules that have been saved and which can be redeployed on the multiple applications. Endpoint managers ships with these predefined rule sets, and you can also create rule sets or copy from another application. For example, we can go to enter any rule set, and we can see the rules in here. For a web browser, we can edit, or we can select, remove, or move up, move down the options in here to be able to check the rules before the second one. The order is important for these rules. The network zones panel to configure, detect any new network, wired or wireless, that computer applied with this profile is trying to connect and provide alerts like the same. Enable automatic detection of private networks is instructs Comodo firewall to keep monitoring whether the computer applied this security profile is connected to any wired or wireless network. This is also default enabled. Do not show pop-up alerts is by default, an alert will be displayed at the computer if the computer attempts to connect to a new network for the end user. To select the type of network, CCS will optimize its firewall settings for the new network based on the selection. You can say work, home, or public location treatments. Also, you can select add new network zones or blocked network zones from here. You can add, remove new network zones. The port sets are handy, predefined grouping of one or more ports that can be reused and deployed across the multiple application and global rules. So you can here create a port set for example, HTTP ports, and you can use inside our rule sets. After setting our firewall website, I want to show you the website filtering inside our endpoint. Inside end settings, we have a website filtering option here. This is enables the firewall to filter websites according to the rules, actually. The powerful rule configuration interface in here lets you create the rules which are as sweeping or as granular as you require. Rules can be created on a per user basis. In here, you can add the specific user, add a new specific user, allowing you to control exactly which websites certain people can or cannot visit. You can also disable or enable rules as required at any time. Comodo Firewall implements the rules in the order of the they are listed in here. For example, as I mentioned before, for the firewall rules, it should the conflict exist between individual rules, then the rules at the top takes the most priority for this kind of rules actually. The categories window contains a list of predefined Comodo categories. Inside categories section, you can see that the exclusions, the website you have decided to trust and allow connections for the current sessions. You cannot modify these options, by the way. Block the websites you have decided to not trust and deny connections. PUA cites the potentially unwanted applications actually. As an example is a browser toolbar, which tells you the reader forecast, but which also tracks your online activity, for example. This is a PUA application, PUA site. Malicious site and malware site is the same, and phishing sites, fake copies of popular banking, shopping, and social media websites that intend to steal your customers' data. Suspicious is like sites which have shown strong evidence of suspicious behavior, but have not yet hosted content which would warrant placing them in the malware or malicious categories. So users are advised to be on high alert should they visit these sites. Safe is global whitelist websites actually. And after setting categories, you can specify the restrictions for any users, and restrictors will be logging to your system. And you will set categories in here, add or change the options here. Oh, sorry. I think you cannot see my CCS section. Let me stop sharing and share again. Can you see the, yes, okay, sorry for the pop-up problem. I will show quickly from here. Inside the CCS, we have a website filtering rule inside advanced settings and website filtering. You can create new categories, exclusions, blocked, and malicious, as I explained before. After selecting any categories, you can add restrictions to any user or group inside our endpoints. And after adding a new category, you can move up or move down the rules from here. Also, you can see the categories in here. Add a new category, add a new website, and import website. This is your capability as a advanced user. And let me open again if you didn't see this section. This is in here, advanced settings option. Sorry for the miss screen problem. After firewall and website filtering, we have a new data loss prevention screen. We added into our profiles. Let me explain data loss prevention quickly first. Data loss prevention is a strategy for ensuring that end users do not send critical or sensitive information outside the corporate network. DLP is also used to describe software products that help a network administrator control what data end users can transfer. Data loss prevention software identifies the potential data breaches, data exfiltering transmissions, and prevents them by monitoring, detecting, and blocking sensitive data while in motion and the network traffic, at rest the data storage, and in use the endpoint actions. The API software products employ business to rules, classified and protect vital and confidential information so that unauthorized end user cannot maliciously or accidentally share the data whose disclosure could put the organization at the risk. Our DLP features are building up over time. We will provide you effective protection, and our CCS DLP offers you to block any data flow comprising of social security numbers, credit cards, or any sensitive information. Allows customers to confidentially and comfortably share their financial and personal information. Prevent sensitive data from leaking through endpoint devices or network connections. And we will provide you data security for mail, printers, removable devices, web, and more. And no one will be able to transfer them outside your networks. I want to first create a new rule. I want to start with here. Under configuration templates, we have a data loss prevention section. From here, you can create a discovery rule or monitoring rule. Let's create a new discovery rule, which name is security webinars. And you can set a description. As an action, you have ignore and quarantine. Ignore the file is retained in its original location, but you can view the identified file from the logs I will show you later. Quarantine file is moved from its original location to a secure holding area. Users cannot open quarantine files. You can review the quarantine files inside our DLP tasks. I will show you later. And you can show the matched results with first and last symbols in view logs, or you cannot select this option and will not see the symbols of the cached sensitive data. After adding a new rule, you should add targets for your scan profile. You can, by clicking edit, you can add a file path to scan inside endpoints. Its default C users. As an exclusion, you can add a new path that you will not scan inside a executables file, for example, or you can email clients. You can exclude email clients from your scan rule. As a pattern, you can add a new pattern as a custom new pattern, or you can use our predefined rules. These are my custom patterns. By clicking a predefined pattern, for example, name with a 6-digit account number means that name will be our current predefined name list, which you can also change names inside the templates. Or you can create a custom mask. For example, I want to say that name with start with 1 and with 9 digits will be used for this pattern. Set mask configuration and click OK, and I have a new pattern inside my rule. Also, I can add IBAN code, and also I will add name of birth to my rule. Under document types, the all options are by default selected, and inside profiles we have profiles which added to this rule, but we don't have any profiles because we didn't use this rule inside any profile. For example, I will add this profile, security webinar, under I will add data loss prevention tab, and I will add a new discovery rule which name is security webinar, and I will add this discovery rule in my endpoint. And by clicking add, you can add the rules, or by clicking the name of the rules, you can go directly to which rule you created, and you can see the profile name is added to profiles. Also, you can create monitoring rules inside your data loss prevention. Inside monitoring, you can add a monitoring rule I created before, monitoring USB, for example. You can add a monitoring rule, and under security subsystems, data loss prevention, you can go directly see your device list which have the profile, and you can see the logs in here. By clicking the device name, you can go directly to devices. By clicking details button in here, you can see which matched items in here and which thresholds they count. You can see the patterns you found in your endpoints. Also, you can see the paths, file name and file hash, and also the all the detail for any sensitive data found in any computer. Also, in quarantine files, as I mentioned before, if you select as an action quarantine, and if it has any sensitive data in the computer, you will see inside here, you can restore the file from the devices, or you can delete the files from the devices by clicking this option. Also, inside settings, we have data loss protection templates. You can add new patterns, custom patterns, or you can add any static keywords from here. Also, if you want to specify users role management, you can go directly to users role management, and under role permission, we have under security subsystem, we have data loss prevention roles for our section. In here, security DLP logs. Also, we have data protection templates, which allows the administrator to restrict any user to see the templates or edit any pattern in any data loss prevention screen. This is basically for our endpoint, and I want to show you the DLP task inside our Comodo client security. You can see the data loss prevention scan you added to your endpoints here, or you can see the data loss prevention quarantine files in your screen in here. And the last section I want to explain you is quickly, because our time is running, and I will add lastly external devices control section to our profile. This will let you define a list of devices that should be blocked on endpoints using the profile. For example, you can block devices, USB storage, human interface devices, Bluetooth devices, and etc. You can specify with their device ID or etc. I want to add a device, for example. By clicking add device class, you can go directly block all USB storage devices or floppy disk in here. And by clicking OK, you will block these devices entering your endpoints. Also, you can create exclusions for these USB devices. For example, if you know the device name and device ID, you can enter here and you will exclude the blocked devices from your endpoints. And also, you can enable device control from here. Enable or disable external device control is important because if you want to configure external device control settings, you should enable this option. Also, you can see the attempts, view history of external devices connection attempts actually in our device control section. After you selected the block devices in here and save to your profile, you can go directly under security subsystems and device control section. The endpoint manager creates a log entry when an external device attempt to connect on a Windows endpoint. External devices includes, as I added, USB devices, floppy disks, printers. These are logs created when a Windows profile contains external device control section. So you should add a profile, this external device control section, and then you can generate reports and you can see the logs of attempts of the devices in here. By clicking export, you can see all the detailed information as an CSV file in here. This is the all actually I want to explain you. On the below part, I added our Comodo forum link if you want to share your or ask your questions about this webinar. Also, after webinar session, we will send the webinar record via email into your personal email addresses. And I want to check the questions part, except from the problems. At some point, can you please show us where we see the rules that are created if we check the create rules for safe applications? Yes. Under profiles, I think it is for firewall. And for example, I created a rule for IP, allow IP in and out. You can see the details in here by clicking the edit buttons inside the application rules or global rules or rule sets. You can see create rules, for example, for a web browser, a safe rule. You created allow means the safe for the application. So you can come here and see the created details, and you can, by clicking edit button, you can see which one you selected or which source ID is uses inside any rule. I can see settings. Sorry, this part is for the problem. You need to do this client, and so no backend to handle that. You need to do this on each client, so no backend. Sorry, I said that I will check the questions at the last part, but I couldn't understand some of your questions, which profile you are asking for. You can export the profile and re-import it for all endpoints. Yes, you can, while creating a new profile, you can clone this profile from here or export the profile, and you can import for all your endpoints later. By clicking the clone, you can change the name of the profile and you can clone and use for the other endpoints in here. As an admin, I'm not going to be logging into every endpoint individually to change website filtering rules. What are these options in administrator? For the website filtering rules, we didn't add website filtering inside our administration platform. It was added before, but we removed from the portal, so we can add specifically website filtering rules inside our endpoints. Actually, Cassandra, you cannot add any website filtering rule inside your portal. About the questioning parts, yes, with an interaction, the webinar can be better, but while checking the chat and explaining the section sometimes can be really a mess. So that's why I prefer to answer your questions at the last tab. So if you write that, I will come and check all the questions. Sorry for the disturbance if you had problem, as I see in the chat part. Inside web filtering, yes, the web filtering is not in the sections in here. You cannot as a profile section for website filtering. It will be on endpoints. You can, as an administrator, you can change the rules for website filtering inside each endpoints. Sorry about that. We can share the roadmap for this option as you required, but it's not available for our portal for now. Thank you for your questions, and yes, you're right. I will add this option to our portal, to our roadmap, and I will inform you about our release plan after the website filtering will be added into our portal settings. If you want to use this option, it will be added to our roadmap. You can go and use a site profiles. If there is no other question, we can finalize our webinar series. Thank you for attending our webinar series. And thank you for your time and your questions. You can add your questions and also your suggestions into our forum post inside Comodo forum. You can see inside our general section our forum post, so I can check offline and answer your questions individually. Thank you. Have a nice day and see you on the other webinar series.